Gregor on Got Your Back.
Is brought to you by Mr. Dirk. From casual wear to suits and formals, Mr. Dirk helps you find the perfect fit with the right look for any occasion. Step up your wardrobe at MrDirk.com.
Well, this show just got a whole lot better looking. No Struds. He's on a plane. He's gone. He's on the other side of the planet. No Brownie. He buckled on us too. But Got Your Back forges on. We got some fresh faces, some new voices. JasonGregor, a familiar voice, getting set to join us tonight. And how about Craig Button too? He's out in Toronto working on Jay Onright show in SportsCenter this week. He's going to check in as well. We got a jam-packed show as we hurtle towards the NHL entry draft. So thanks for joining us here on Got Your Back, presented by Play Alberta, where when you gamble, use your game sense. Play Alberta makes it easy to set deposit limits, time limits, and more, so you can play casino games. You can bet on different sports, and you can do it safely, securely, and responsibly. Everything you need to know how to get her done right is on their website, playalberta.ca, our proud presenting sponsor. I am coming at you from my home studio, my Adrenaline Diesel studio, Edmonton's premier heavy-duty diesel truck repair shop, specializing in powertrain tuning, performance, and parts sales as well. Check them out online at adrenalinediesel.ca. As if the pod didn't have enough forehead already, JasonGregor checks in. I was saying, Gregs, you look freshly shorn. Like that is it is shiny. It looks tight. It looks well done.
So you know what? Yeah, just because I'm tan now, so it with the lighting in my home studio here, it looks even shinier. Yeah, you almost have to wear shades to dull the reflection.
I know. Well, it's great to have you on, buddy. Thanks, Zuby. How you doing, man? We got abandoned. Like our teammates abandoned us for this last week of podcasts. It took me a little bit to get over.
It did. It was radio silence from you for a couple of days, and I could just picture you as like sad Keanu Reeves somewhere sitting on a park bench. That was kind of how I pictured you. But you've come through here. We got a great show.
Just wait a sec. Are you telling me that former NHL players like had to cut it short as quick as they could? Shocking. Guys who have never worked a regular work week in their life.
That tells me Struds is unfamiliar with how to operate at playoff time. He doesn't have experience with deep runs in the playoffs. Who books a trip when you're on a podcast that covers a team for the last week and a half of June when the team is like a Stanley Cup favorite each year? Gregs, you work with him for years. Did he ever pull anything like that on you?
No, but well, he is celebrating his fossil, right? He's 50th. So I think it's a big one. So he's getting old now. He forgets what's going on. But we were just happy when he showed up on time. That was a win.
Yeah, that's a win for us too. He's always coming in. We always get the text, coming in hot, fellas, from Struds before the show. Yeah, you know that well.
Track pants, embarrassing.
Yeah. I gotta say, I expected it from Struds. I was a little surprised. Brownie, same thing, buckled on Sunday. So we'll have a little Got Your Back management meeting. We'll get everybody's head screwed on straight. But thrilled to have JasonGregor from Sports 1440 and OilersNation.com joining us here tonight. Just laying out the show real quick for you. Greg's is going to hang in for the first couple of segments. Tons of Oiler talk. A little bit of a minor McDavid update tonight. We'll get to that in just a moment. Lots of Oiler talk, what their plans might be. We're going to have Brownie points, and we're going to have Struddy's World. Even though we don't have Brownie or Struddy, we're still going to push through. And then Craig Button is going to join us a little bit later on. We'll go around the league. We'll get some of his takeaways on the Edmonton Oilers as well. And then Ask Us Anything. Craig Button's going to hang around for that too. So we got a jam-packed show. Let's get to it, though. Time for the breakdown, brought to you by the Alberta Ram dealers. Ram trucks continue to deliver with power, style, and innovation. 2025 Ram 1500 features a bold new powertrain, a redesigned exterior, and state-of-the-art technology. Check out the most awarded light-duty truck ever. See your Ram dealer today. Gregs, we're going to get into the Evan Bouchard and Connor McDavid conversation in our next segment in takeaways, but can tell you tonight, just reported on X, that Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson are in Ontario. The initial set of meetings are underway with Judd Moldaver, Connor McDavid's agent, also Connor Brown's agent, by the way. I don't think they're, getting into the nitty gritty about contract length and term and all that. I think initial discussions are about the organization, the direction. And I think this is going to take some time, Gregs. We said it the day that that Connor McDavid had his availability. Stan Bowman echoed it. It'll be some time before well into July, I would say, before the meat and potatoes start happening. But a good sign nonetheless that they're there and talks are underway.
Yeah, I think it's, this will be a process, and there will be some people that are stressed out every day because he hasn't signed. You know what? Just pretend he's, until you get to August 1st, I don't think it's really an issue, to be honest. McDavid outlined where he's at, his head's at, losing consecutive Stanley Cup finals. He's going to want to get away from it. So now the agent, they set it up. To me, I've said for a year, McDavid's re-signing in Edmonton. It's just a matter of what the term's going to be. I think a 5-year term would be fine for all parties involved, to be honest. It keeps the organization at a level where, hey, you know what? We want him to sign again. We got to stay competitive. McDavid, if he wants, not sure he cares about it that much, but in 5 years, the cap will be higher. He probably could get even more if he wants, and you'll see where the organization is. So I think that's it's a win for all parties. And you know what? Oilers fans, you get McDavid for another 5 years. That means that'll be 18 years. Pretty lucky if you're a fan base to have McDavid for 18 seasons.
Oh yeah, no question. Right through the prime of his career. We'll get more.
16, that's terrible math. That's Rishaug math. 16.
Yeah, sorry.
Years, not 18.
Yeah, 16. Sorry, I thought that didn't sound right, but I made a habit, Gregs, of not questioning other people's math because I don't have confidence in my own. So that's kind of a rule of thumb after a traumatic experience on a CFL sideline one day many, many years ago, where my math was leaving a little to be desired.
By 9.
Hey, down by 11 at the half. What did the coach say to you? Man, we're only down by 9. Oh. The best part of that was that was taped. That was on tape. And our producer comes on and he goes, in my ear, he goes, look, like, we think it's funny, but you're called. Do you want to veto it? And I was like, no, it's fine. Just go with it. I'm thinking, probably not. No one will really notice. Little did I know, between your show and Nilsson's show, I heard that every day for like 6 years after that. So
it's good times.
We'll get into the McDavid discussion and Bouchard in our next segment. But Gregs, I want to dial in a little bit on what this week heading to the draft and to free agency can potentially look like for the Oilers. So Evan Bouchard, let's just say they get that contract done and it eats up the cap space that they have right now, which is that like 10, 11 million sitting there. Let's say Bouchard basically gobbles that all up and the Oilers are up against it. It becomes about freeing up space. I've heard you talk about it lots. Everyone's talking about Evander Kane and Victor Arvidsson as being the conduit trades to get some cap relief. Now, I want to start on Arvidsson. Do you think, and I saw you wrote in your article on OilersNation.com, you feel he'll be moved. Do we have an indication that Victor Arvidsson is good with 1 year, one and done, didn't work out, I'm good to move on, nod, wink, wink, let's get a deal? Do we know that? I know the Oilers would like to move him, but are we sure Arvidsson's good to go?
Yeah, I was told from pretty reliable source that Arvidsson, you know what? It's funny because he says he wants more of an opportunity. And I'm like, dude, he got to play most of the season with Draisaitl. You didn't produce, but he's entering the final year of his deal. And you know what? You could be out of the league pretty quick in the NHL, or you can be a league minimum player if you don't have a good season again. So I think he feels like he's capable of more. He wants more minutes, I think, more than anything else. And I think he just realizes in Edmonton, that's not going to happen. So I don't know if he'll be that picky. To be honest, he's going to want to go to a situation. Obviously, he'd like to be on a competitive team. Don't get me wrong, but it's probably not going to be a cup contender per se, right? There's lots of teams in that 12 to 22 range that can any of them could be a playoff team. So I think that's what you'll see from Arvidsson. What's the return going to be? Very minimal. it's not going to be Marchment's return, probably even lower. Does Edmonton have to retain any sort of salary? We'll see in the part of it, but I think he's gone for sure. Now, Kane's a little bit different of a story. He obviously, I think Evander Kane, because he's such a unique player, there will be teams interested because we all know Evander Kane. Evander Kane turns 34 in the summer. He will be highly motivated to have a good year to get another contract at a good AAV, not just another contract, but another contract at good AAV. He has a very high belief system in himself. And I think he also won't just, accept a trade anywhere. He'll probably be a little bit pickier, and that trade might take a little bit longer to transpire. But honestly, guys, here's the thing, Ryan. There's lots of cap space available this summer, and there's not a lot of big name guys to eat it up on the free agent market.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's a fair point, and teams will look to trade. Teams with that cap space, they'll look to execute deals. They'll look for situations where there are otherwise fairly valuable players who are on teams that just need the space. And that's why maybe Arvidsson, to your point, makes some sense in this cap environment. Just back to him, and not to question your sourcing or information or anything. I kind of tend to agree with you, but it's interesting. A lot of times when somebody goes somewhere new, it doesn't always go great in the early days. They struggle, right? Yeah. And I believe there's a family, right? He's a family that moves with him, I think, if I recall that correctly, right? So they talk to Matthias Ekholm. They're good to go. They sign this deal, best intentions, and it doesn't work great. He wasn't healthy for a big chunk of this year. He was trying to play through stuff. Then he took a bunch of time off. It was a rocky first year, Gregs. But if you're Victor Arvidsson and you're in a contract year, is there not a school of thought that you have a chance to play with Leon Draisaitl potentially? And here's my thought process on that. If the Oilers can't move Arvidsson, they're not going to go get somebody necessarily to play next to Leon Draisaitl in that spot. He would remain on the list of candidates to play in the Oilers' top six if he's here at $4 million. So if he chose to say, wasn't a great start, I believe in myself, I want to win a cup, and I think I can be better, and we can win a cup here, I came for a reason. Is there not some logic to that as well?
I think there is, but there's also
are they going to bury him? What are they going to do? They're just going to bury him? Well,
he was a healthy scratch in the playoffs, and you were there, Schauger. Well, what was he doing in the morning skate of Game 6? He wasn't even taking line rushes. I know he was frustrated, right? And I had heard actually that there was conversation. He was upset in the regular season near the trade deadline and didn't officially ask for a trade, but even at that point was just he wasn't happy with his role and situation. And so if you're not happy with that, I don't think the coach is going to change his view of you as a player. And regardless of what the GM says, because at the end of the day, the coach is the one who manages your ice time. The GM doesn't go into the coach's room and say, hey, I told Victor you're going to play him. Not how it works. So I just think sometimes you're right that it didn't work out the way they wanted. He still had 15 goals. It's not a terrible season by any stretch, but I think Arvidsson, I would be stunned if he's not traded.
Okay. So back to Evander Kane now. And by the way, let's get to our Weiss Johnson YouTube chat. That's brought to you by Weiss Johnson Heating and Air Conditioning. The summer weather has arrived. If you don't have an AC yet, you might as well get on it. Weiss Johnson is your home comfort specialist. So give them a call and enjoy a summer with a brand new AC unit, specializing in servicing your existing mechanical systems or installing new ones. Visit weiss-johnson.com today. Hit that jingle.
Weiss Johnson,
So a couple of comments here on Evander Kane. Kane is just too emotional, boys. My advice, get rid of him ASAP, from Sergei Bobrovsky. There was another one about his act at the end of Game 6. Point being made, don't mind his emotion, but it was a little out of pocket, what he did at the end of that series, and maybe some people didn't necessarily love that. Quenby Amy says Kane will be better when playing consistently. Kane was solid for rounds 1 to 3, says James Barrels. Like most of the forward depth, he didn't help the Oilers to give themselves their best shot at winning. Play definitely trailed off, Gregs. And I don't think he did himself any favors in that Stanley Cup final, but he is still a unique player. He's a motivated, unique player. And I think he could have done himself a favor, I think, by from the time he came back, you know, in the playoffs, maybe have looked for an opportunity to show that ferocity. And I'm not saying that he didn't try or he didn't challenge guys or whatever, but I think he could have done himself a little bit of a favor by reestablishing that, reminding people, oh yeah, he does that too, and finding something out there. Maybe he tried, but someone's going to have interest in the unique skill set, I would think.
Oh, like there's just not many players in the NHL who have the ability to score 20, 25 goals, you know, be very physical, 200 plus hits. He skates well. You know, he's not a great passer. You know, he'll take a few undisciplined penalties, but I don't mind that. If you want a guy to be physical, he's going to take penalties sometimes you don't like. That's just how it works. And I think Kane, you know what? He's usually on his best behavior first year with a new team. He's heading into a contract season. Like there's lots of reasons where you could make an argument that Edmonton might be better off keeping him. He also didn't play for a calendar year. And, you know, did that have an impact in his play later in the playoffs that maybe his conditioning just wasn't up to snuff because he hadn't played in a year? And so, you know, that wear and tear of the playoffs maybe grinds you down potentially. I don't know about that, but I think that's something we can't overlook. Like I thought he played pretty well for a guy who hadn't played in 10 months, right? Like came in and didn't really miss a beat in those first few series and scored some key goals and, you know, scored a big goal even in the Florida series early on. But when you look at cap space, and cap space is king for a team, that's why I see Kane as a guy. Now, if it's not Kane, maybe it's Adam Henrique, but I think they like Henrique more.
So you had an interesting piece to your article at OilersNation.com. You made the point that you would prefer to see Adam Henrique get a look on the wing in the top six ahead of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in the upcoming season. I don't agree with you, so we can get into that a little bit, but I'll let you make your case. It hasn't really happened with any sort of consistency yet. They haven't really given it any sort of prolonged look. So why do you think it's time to keep Nuge in the middle at 3 center and have Henrique floating around up there?
Okay, well, there's a few things at play. Number one, Nugent-Hopkins has had 2 years on McDavid's wing. It hasn't worked, right? The 5-on-5 production isn't there. It doesn't lie. You're playing with McDavid. It's not there. So that's number one reason. Number two, Adam Henrique is incredibly good in the small areas, on the boards, on the wall, which I think will help McDavid. And I think Nuge is more into the game when he plays center. He's told us that. He doesn't shy away from it. He just feels like he gets a little bit of extra jump when he plays in the middle. Now, I know people are concerned about his faceoffs. You got Thomasek. Thomasek's a right shot who can play center. He can take the strong right-hand draws. Nugent-Hopkins can take the left. Henrique's incredibly smart. And I looked, I know it's a small sample size, but in the limited minutes that he played with McDavid, which are only 53, which is that's not even 6 games. He had 3 goals, 5 points. They outscored the opponents 9-1. And it doesn't get talked about enough, but this past year in the playoffs, McDavid's goals against per 60 was 3.2. It was 1.9 the year before. That's a massive difference. Mm-hmm. I think Henrique's a little bit better defensively. No one has to he's not fast enough. Oh, really? Was Pat Maroon fast? I'll tell you, Henrique looks like a sprinter compared to Pat Maroon. So I don't have a problem with Maroon. Now, remember, when I say I would like to see him there, because I've seen Nugent-Hopkins for 2 years, so I know what I'm going to get. And if you always want to go back to it, you can go back to it. But I think they need a little bit more of a goal scorer. And you look at Henrique, the last 2 years, he's got more 5-on-5 goals with Nugent-Hopkins, and Nugent-Hopkins played over 1,000 minutes with McDavid. So Henrique played none, like 53 minutes. So to me, I would give it to Henrique because I want Frederick on Draisaitl's line. I think having a physical player there, you've got Hyman with McDavid. I like to have, a physical presence on each line. And, or you put Podkolzin back because he worked with Draisaitl. I know he didn't score a lot, but the line scored a lot and didn't get scored on. So I've seen enough of Nugent-Hopkins to say, try Henrique. I just can't see it being worse. And their goals against went up last year across the board, 5-on-5.
Okay. So you make some great points. Small sample size on the statistics, but they still paint a picture. So more than fair. I do have issue that pace of play will be a little bit of an issue. And I know what you're saying about Pat Maroon, But Pat Maroon had a set of skills in and around the net that Adam Henrique does not have. That's Adam Henrique. It's not his bread and butter, grinding in the crease, being in that space, shoving D-man out of the way, creating space for his line mates, being hard on the forecheck and moving. That is not Adam Henrique at all. So I don't know that would necessarily be a fit, but I can't disagree with you on the statistics with 93 there. I would go in with intentions of 93 next to Draisaitl and give that some time. Give Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, give Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman, and then be open to whatever else fills in. This is why the Trent Frederic deal is good. That, we'll talk about Matthew Savoy coming up in Struddy's world, so I don't want to get too deeply into him. He'll have an opportunity to come in and see what he can do in the early going. Trent Frederic can play left wing. Trent Frederic can play right wing. Trent Frederic can play center. He can play all three positions. I would commit to Nugent-Hopkins with Draisaitl for a little bit, see if you can find something there. And then you've got two solid players on your top two lines and a number of guys that can platoon in and out. And then Adam Henrique is a fine third line center for me, Greg's.
Yeah, and that's fair. There's nothing wrong with it. I think, well, first of all, if you look at Pat Maroon, you say a set of skills. Pat Maroon was out of his world in Edmonton. He played 154 games in Edmonton and he had 49 goals. Okay. Pretty good rate. In the rest of his career, he scored 77 goals. So 49 in Edmonton, 77 in 694 games elsewhere. Adam Henrique has scored he scored 20 goals 8-9 times in his career. He's a way better goal scorer. He's actually a better 5-on-5 goal scorer than Nugent-Hopkins. And for me, I would try it because I haven't gotten good production from the left wing on the first line or even the second line in a long time. And if Zach Hyman might not be ready to start next season, Adam Henrique can play around the net just fine, but he's really good on the wall. And that to me, and he's smart. Does Adam Henrique make many wrong decisions defensively?
Yeah. You know what?
Corey Perry, let's just be honest. Pace of play, Shogger. Adam Henrique, Corey Perry played with McDavid. You can't tell me Adam Henrique can't.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he can't. And McDavid has had some players over there that play the game a little bit differently. You also got to think about the coaching staff here. They have not been interested in this. They have not meaningfully tried this. And this is a coach that ran the gamut of trying different things this year. He tried almost everything except that. So maybe in his analysis, and he likes these analytics too, they'll go over it and they'll see some of that. And I'm not saying I wouldn't give it a look. I'm just saying I think long-term, you're still better off with Nugent-Hopkins in your top six and Adam Henrique at 3 center. Zuby, this is a great debate and a great discussion. So I want to call an audible on our DeBoer's Golf Shop and Fitting Center YouTube poll. So let's just do that right now, Zuby, and I'll flesh it out for you. Basically, I want to know which side of the debate people are on. Would you rather see Adam Henrique on the wing in the top 6 with Nuge in the middle, or Nuge in the top 6 and Adam Henrique at third line center? Want to get people involved, see what they have to say about that. A reminder that DeBoer's Golf Shop and Fitting Center has you covered for all things you might need with golf season well underway. Locally owned and operated, DeBoer's Golf Shop's been in business over 25 years. They're ready to help you play better golf. Visit them on the corner of 53rd Avenue and 99th Street or at DeBoersGolf.com. Zuby, you got that up, or you'll have that up in the next minute or two?
I'm working on it. So you want Nuge on McDavid's wing, or Henrique on McDavid's wing?
No, so I think we just have two options, and I think we simplify. I think what we say is, would you prefer Adam Henrique on the wing in the top 6, Nuge at 3C, or Nugent-Hopkins on the wing in the top 6, Henrique at 3C?
Gotcha.
Just want to know where people come in on which guy they would rather see dabbling in the top 6 with Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. All right, great discussion, Gregs. I saw that in your article. You had the numbers to back it up. I thought it was really smart, but fundamentally, I'm not quite there yet. I'm interested to see what the people have to say. That was our breakdown brought to you by Alberta Ram Dealers. When we come back, we'll get into a few more things, including McDavid, Bouchard, where we see those landing. Greg's and I haven't had a chance to hash that out yet, so we'll go through that. And we got Craig Button ahead as well. So tons ahead here on Got Your Back, presented by Play Alberta.
If you're considering a vinyl fence, don't be fooled by cheap marketplace imitations. Get top quality vinyl fence from a trusted company with 20 years in the industry. With locations in Calgary and Edmonton, check out dlrvinylproducts.ca.
Choosing the right health and dental coverage can feel overwhelming, but Alberta Blue Cross is here to make it simple. Their user-friendly website features a free quote tool to guide you through choosing your plan, or you can chat directly with one of their specialists for personalized help. Every plan includes access to personal, nutritional, and financial counseling at no extra cost. Visit ab.bluecross.ca/personal to learn more.
At Gallery Dental, we believe in blending exceptional care with artistry to create the perfect smile for you. From routine cleanings to advanced cosmetic procedures, our team is dedicated to providing top-notch care in a relaxed and comfortable environment. With state-of-the-art technology and a passion for perfection, we ensure that every visit is a positive experience. Join the Gallery Dental family and let us help you achieve a smile that you'll love to show off. Contact us today at secolandentistry.com.
All right, rolling it right along here on Got Your Back. Time now for our takeaways, brought to you by Horizon Ag and Turf. From farms to fairways, John Deere builds machines that last. They got all your equipment needs. Tractors for the farm, mowers for the backyard, gators for off-road adventures, skid steers for landscaping, green rollers for the golf course, and more. Visit them at one of their 13 locations across Alberta or online at horizonagturf.com. That's horizonagturf.com. Okay, Greg, so we got a little bit into the Connor McDavid contract. We'll get there in just a moment, but I wanted to focus a little bit in on Evan Bouchard here with you. There seems to be a segment of the fan base that still isn't sure if they want the Oilers to sign Evan Bouchard or not, given where the numbers might be here. I would say, Greg, they're not going to have a choice here. This is too valuable a piece. He is too good at moving the puck in the right direction. He is too good at getting the puck on the stick of the skilled players, puts up points when it matters most. To me, he settled the debate in the playoffs this year as to whether you could trust him with the long-term deal. That's settled. To me now, it's just strictly trying to mitigate the pain and get it at the best number you can. I said a week ago, anything under 11, I think the Oilers will be happy with.
Yeah, I think he's going to come in close to 10, and you know what? Probably a long-term deal. Now, there is going to be a little bit of gamesmanship here because he could get an offer sheet, but there's also, he has arbitration rights. And so he'd have to file for arbitration on the 5th of July. And if he chooses not to file because he's like, hey, I want to keep the door open for an offer sheet, but also kind of put the pressure on the team that, hey, won't show up at camp, which we've seen teams do, or players do. But then the Oilers could turn around the next day, because if he doesn't file, then they have the opportunity to file for arbitration, which guarantees him a contract, right? Now, it's short term. That's not ideal. But in arbitration, his cap hit would be lower for a 1-year deal, probably closer to 9. So that's the little bit of gamesmanship here. I think just because you file for arbitration doesn't mean you actually go to it. I think when it's all said and done, he'll get a deal somewhere, 10, maybe upwards of 10.5. And away they go from there. And Bouchard will have a giveaway in November 27th that has people pissed off, and he'll lollygag back to the ice and they'll freak out. And meantime, though, he'll make 20 really good plays, but no one talks about it. So that's just how you're going to get with Bouchard. To me, 3 years in the postseason, the guy's been an absolute baller. And he did it without Matthias Ekholm this year. So
that was a big one, hey?
Yeah,
that was a big one, Greg. Like, I really do think that him reaching that level without Matthias Ekholm was kind of the one thing coming into this year's playoffs. You could have said, like, okay, I'm interested to see what he's able to do on the big stage without the big guy there, right? Is it the big Viking that's stabilizing him? Well, he went out there and he did it, Greg's. And not only that, let's add penalty killing to his to-do list. And pretty good penalty killing to his to-do list as well. So he's answered some questions. Now, with that said, I'm not going to be a revisionist historian here, right? I believe Evan Bouchard struggled through a lot of this regular season with his two-way game. I thought from where he was defensively in the playoffs to where he showed up this year was like, is this the same human in his own end? I think all the criticism was fair from a defensive standpoint because he showed everybody what was possible. But I think everyone's just going to have to understand, Greg's, he's just not going to do that for 82 games. He's willing to do it in the playoffs. He's not going to do it for 82 games.
No, and that's
not ideal, but it is what it is.
No, you're going to live with it. He had a quote down year and was still the 4th highest scoring defenseman in the league. So there's just not many guys. Like, no one shoots the puck consistently as hard as Bouchard. No one. Like, the guy with 90+ mile an hour shots, he's almost double everybody else. Like, he gets the puck away. And he's still actually pretty young, honestly, when it's all said and done. He'll get a little bit more consistent over time. There will be some nights where people will groan about it, but you're probably better. To me, it's wasted air at that point because the guy has shown year after year he steps up really when the games matter. You saw in the playoffs, he has way more bite to his game in the postseason, right? Like, people, I know there's lots of guys who loved what he did to Rupe Hintz. They loved it, right? Even though it's just a little love tap, but it's the look and has people like, screw you, here you go.
And, Did not expect that from him. Did not expect that from him.
No, and you watch him, Bouchard, he doesn't get into scrums in the regular season. He's like, this is a waste of my time. He never backs down from one in the playoffs. And for a team that their captain, all he wants to do is win. He's said it a million times. So he wants guys that he knows when you get to playoffs, this guy's game's there. The captain wants him. He'll be getting signed.
Yeah. Let's dip over to Connor McDavid. Greg's, if there were ever a case for a player to make for the maximum, it's this cap environment, this player, Connor McDavid. This is going to go the way McDavid wants it to go. The timing is going to be what Judd Moldaver and Connor McDavid want the timing to be. The numbers are going to be what Judd Moldaver and Connor McDavid want the numbers to be, and the term is going to be what they want it to be too. Like, what are the Oilers going to do? What leverage do they have? Are they really going to get into a hard negotiation and push back and this and that? So McDavid has all the cards, and I understand that. But at the same time, he is listed as number one priority is winning, Greg's. So it's going to be incumbent on him and Judd to figure out where that line is between, yes, I'm Connor McDavid and I need to help float all the boats a little higher, but I also have winning as the number one priority. My guess is it's in that 15 to 16.5 range, maybe 17-ish, but that is the range. Do you agree with most of what I just said?
Yeah, all of it. I don't even know if it goes as high as 17. I think Connor looks and says, guys, like, I'll do 16 for 5 years at $80 million. And because I think he realizes, because I did the math. So let's say he goes at 16, right? And then when his new deal kicks in the first year, the salary cap's $104 million. Him, Draisaitl, Bouchard, and Nurse would be 49.25, which equals 47% of the cap. Florida just won this year with their top 4 guys at 43.4%, so slightly higher. However, if you go to the top 6 players in Florida, which included Verhaeghe, which was 4 forwards, a goalie and a defenseman, Ekblad and Verhaeghe, and then you would include Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, Florida's top 6 guys ate up 59.7% of the cap when they won this year. And we know the cap's going to be $104 million. And so if McDavid's at 16, then the Oilers' top 6 guys would be at 57%. So even at 16, you can look and say, now the key was Brad Marchand and Sam Bennett came in, $4 million for Bennett. Marchand was projected. And so they had huge, and that's what I think people overlook. And really what kind of didn't get talked about a lot about the Oilers in the postseason, in the Stanley Cup final, they're when Draisaitl and McDavid were off the ice, the Oilers were 4-4, 5-5. They were even. They didn't get any penalty killing early. They didn't get a save early, but their big guns got outscored 5-5 in the series. And really, even in the whole playoffs, if you look at it. So I think McDavid looks and says, hey, I'm pretty confident in my ability. I'm confident in Draisaitl's. I'm confident in Bouchard's, right? Nurse, obviously, is going to have a real hard time ever living up to his contract. You live with it. But if I can save $1 million for someone else, we bring in a Brad Marchand because he's 1.7 at the cap, and I've saved $1 million of that, and we only need $700 in cap space. Well, that could be the difference in us winning. And I think that's what he's going to look.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. And we've seen him do that before. We saw in his last deal, he cut it back after the deal was basically already in place. He was in a similar situation back then. So he's set that precedent that he's willing to do that within reason. I believe all options are on the table. I think Judd Moldaver he's a unique agent. He's a unique guy. And, he's a pretty smart guy. And we saw him with some high-level players go shorter. At times when other stars are digging in on those 8-year deals, he went shorter, right? Went shorter with Matthews, Werenski. Like, he's done that. Greg's, you said 5 years. So what would you say about the idea of a 2 or a 3-year deal? So let's say, let's start with 2. He does a 2-year deal. That gives him 3 more runs at it with the Oilers. He gets a bit of a sense of, where they're going, who they sign, what it looks like. Do they stay in the mix? And then at 31, McDavid in a cap environment where the cap will be, what do we figure? 118, 120 million by then? Like it's 113 2 years from now. So 95, 104, 113. So what's it going to be the year after that? Right? Now he's doing an 8-year deal at 31 roughly years of age in his prime. Is 19 out of the question at that point? So like this shorter than people think option is an interesting one not to sleep on.
Yeah, it would be. What's funny is every time he takes more money, I actually think it lowers his chances of winning. So that's always, and I think the one thing I've noticed around Connor, like there are times when I think there's almost too much pressure internally from himself. Like he's so hard on himself and all he wants to do is win and it's the whole focus. And I understand it, but you can't win the cup in October. You can't win the cup in November. You can't win the cup until you get to the playoffs. And sometimes you got to have a little bit of fun. And I think it's hard being McDavid. Like I'm not one who, now this is just my opinion. And I'm sure it means jack shit to him, but I don't look at players and say, if Connor McDavid doesn't win a cup, he's not going to be in the top 3 players of all time. I think his numbers will prove itself. He wants to win because he's driven to win. And I totally respect that. But there's a balance sometimes where I look and say, God, like these guys they're a great team and they've came really close and it's okay to be disappointed. But I'm like, did they ever really have fun enjoying the journey along the way? And I just wonder about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's serious business, man. Connor McDavid is serious business. When he talks to us in the media, he's got a pretty serious demeanor. He's got a lot of pressure on him. He has lofty goals that are about bringing the cup to Edmonton, but also about, being one of the great players in the game. And I don't know that Connor McDavid can truly be happy and complete on the professional side of his life without that cup. Some guys can.
Yeah, that's fair.
And Joel Thornton's rolling around like as happy-go-lucky as it goes, man. And I'm sure it kind of sucks. But, like, that's not McDavid, dude. And it drives him, and it's what forces him to drive his teammates. And, I mean, he is very much the guy that drives the competitive bus for this organization.
Now,
I hear what you're saying.
The one thing about your short-term idea, what's the one thing Connor hates? He hates talking about himself. Does he want to talk about a contract again for the next 2 years? Like that's because
he hasn't had to talk about it that much, Greg's. He hasn't had to talk about it. He talked about it at the start of this year and then respectfully asked that we leave him be on it. And I think that was fair. As media, we didn't hound him on it. He had to talk about it once on his way out of town.
Right?
What's that?
He didn't just sign a 2-year deal. If he signs a 2-year deal, okay, so he ends his new contract. Yeah. I just think, a 2-year one, like I thought you were going to say 4. And I'm like, you know what? I could see a 4-year deal, but a 2-year deal. I don't see that.
3 maybe is more likely than a 2-year deal. I'm just saying, like, I think all options are on the table. I really think that it's very wide open right now. And again, Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson in Ontario, these negotiations, these talks are underway. No hard numbers at this point. I think it's like big picture stuff, talking about the direction. But they're meeting with Judd Moldaver and the process has started. So
now, what about
don't expect. Yeah, go ahead.
What about another viewpoint? Because there is the organized, and I know everybody says, you know what? What if the organization says, hey, 4 or 5 years is good for us too? Because hypothetically, what if you don't win in the next 4 years? Then you could trade McDavid in that final year and give yourself something else to try to do it rather than let him walk for nothing.
I don't imagine a day. I mean, unless he gives them no choice, I just don't see a day where the Oilers talk themselves into trading Connor McDavid, unless there's no choice.
Oh, but my point is, if he hasn't won and they haven't won, and he's
it's not going to be because of Connor McDavid, though. No one's going to think it's because of Connor McDavid.
But he might at that point say, you know what, guys, we're going to try something else. At least then, both sides are like, well, the Oilers could get something from him. Because look at the Pittsburgh Penguins. They had an unreal run. And now, they're on a vine dying, right? They're walking around in the desert thinking they're going to find a bucket of water somewhere. And somehow Sid's going to drink from it and they're going to get to the postseason. It ain't happening. So if the Oilers win, he stays there forever. I would assume, because now the stress is gone. You've won. You exhale, right? Look at the difference in Ovi, right?
Oh,
he went 13 years. And then when he won, man, it was just and I get it, right? And he was a pretty lighthearted guy. But I think McDavid, there's a lot of pressure on him, and Draisaitl. I do believe they will win because the Oilers are good. They just lost to one of the greatest playoff performances we've seen in decades, what that Florida Panther team did.
I agree. Great stuff. And that was our takeaways, brought to you by Horizon Ag and Turf. Before we let you go, Gregs, we're going to get to our relentless player of the day, brought to you by UCAN Youth Services, an Edmonton charity relentless in helping youth age 16 to 24 get out of harm's way and find employment. Visit ucan.ca to see how your donation can change lives right here in our community. Got your back. Very proud to have UCAN Youth Services as our charitable partner. Proud monthly donors as well, and encourage you to do so if you can. I'm making the call here. The relentless player of the week is my right Achilles tendon. Still hobbling around the house. Still haven't been able to swing a golf club. Still absolutely buckled by this thing that started acting up. I was trying to keep my spirits up, Gregs. I'm kind of to the end of it now. I'm frustrated. I'm sick and tired of this. It's not even tendonitis. It's just where it attaches at the heel. It's inflamed and the nerve is inflamed and it just needs time. And it's just relentlessly nagging at me, relentlessly biting at me with every single step. It's crushing me.
Why don't you get a walking boot?
I don't want one. And they don't think I need one.
Well, they don't know you. You should get one.
Well said. Well said. That was solid. That was good work, buddy.
Hey, I got a question for you. That's if we talk real. So the one, it's a small detail, but Oiler fans, they like every detail. Okay. So the Oilers have 5 players who are RFAs who need a qualifying offer by Sunday. We know that Evan Bouchard gets one for sure. We know that Noah Philp gets one for sure. Cameron Wright won't get one. Jacob Pelche won't get one. The 5th person is Olivier Rodrigue. They just signed Day. They just had Samuel Johnson's coming over. They've got Unger, who got hurt in the playoffs in the ECHL, so might not be ready. That's 3 goalies that are 23 and under. Does Olivier Rodrigue get a qualifying offer if the Oilers go out and acquire another goalie and they have Pickard, Skinner, and another goalie?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Oilers, I think they will, because I don't think they're not keeping 3 goalies, Gregs, and Pickard ain't getting through waivers. So they'll have to move somebody, right? Pickard's not, if the Oilers go grab whatever, Jake Allen, right? Calvin Pickard's not clearing waivers, so he'll be gone. So they'll need to retain another goaltender, I would say. That'd be my guess.
You still think those, because I just don't know. I wonder if they go a different direction. I'm just not sold that they view him as somebody who can play. I think we will know for sure by Sunday, but I think it's
Rodrigue.
I think it's a long conversation that's going on in the organization right now.
Hey, great point by you and something to keep an eye on. Gregs, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Do you have something, Zuby?
Well, I just think before we should cut him loose, you guys had this debate on the poll. So I think
you want to wrap the poll already? Okay,
I think we should bring this back. Because it's real tight. So you guys
Holy smokes.
The question was, would you rather have Henrique top 6, Nuge 3C, 50% of the vote, Nuge top 6, Henrique 3C, 49% of the vote somehow. So obviously some percentage, some fractions of a percent in there, but very, very close. But Henrique in the top 6, Gregor won them over with his
He'll
impassioned.
take the win.
Yeah, and
He'll
gets
beat
the
his
win
chest
here.
over 1% and take the win. On my show, Greg's, you don't know this, but on my show, I've never won an argument. I've never won a poll. I've never been given any serious brownie points, only joking ones. I get no respect on this show, and you, my friend, have held firm to that as well.
Wow. Well, hey, buddy. Honestly, I think it's a good discussion only because I've seen enough of, like, when you say, well, we'll put Nuge with Draisaitl. Why? Like, he doesn't score enough as a top 6 player. And I like Nugent Hopkins. I just think he does more for your team as a third line center. He still's on the power play, and he's very underrated on the power play. I think, trust me, you talk to Draisaitl and McDavid about what Nugent Hopkins does on the power play a lot, just little plays that sometimes he's always the third assist. But I just think McDavid could use a different look on the left wing.
Okay. Some might suggest that you are a guy that feels he always needs to get the last word, Greg's. Hey, Zuby? I mean, I've been accused of that constantly on the show. I think Greg, we're going to give Greg's the last word on this one because he's a last word guy.
And he's our guest.
You get the last word.
Yeah, be polite, Rishaug.
Greg's,
be polite.
Yeah, for sure. Look forward to reading your stuff between now and the draft, now and free agency over at OilersNation.com. Of course, you got the Jason Gregor Show every day over on Sports 1440 and a full slate of shows throughout the day on that wonderful station that you've put together. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Have a great day. Heal up your heel, Shogger.
Yes. All right. Quit being a heel. Get out of here. We'll see you, folks. We'll be right back. Craig Button's coming up, but we got Brownie Points and Struddy's World coming up on the other side of the break.
So at Timberhouse, our guiding philosophy is naturally inspired living. We believe that through design, we can solve problems and enhance people's lives. We follow biophilic design principles in all of our builds to incorporate natural materials, natural light, to enhance all the spaces in a home. When you have your space perfectly reflect who you are and what you value, and it's made well, we think that that just leads to better living.
Ready to go all in this season? Mr. Dirk's got you covered with express on-site tailoring, a wide selection of craftsman-made suits, sport coats, and casual staples for every occasion. Score big with Mr. Dirk. We've always got your back. Visit us off White Ave, south of 102nd Street, or browse online at mrdirk.com.
Join over 250,000 Canadians who have upgraded to Canada's best mattress. Douglas is proudly made in Canada and ships directly to your door for free. Douglas is easy to set up. Enjoy perfectly balanced comfort and an easy-to-clean machine washable cover. Get a free sleep bundle with your Douglas mattress. Try risk-free for 365 nights. Get your Douglas mattress today.
When you make a mistake, heads should roll. It's not right. And I'm here. Someone has to put their foot down. Now that I say it out loud, it does sound a little crazy. Gotta look good.
Yes, it is time for Struddy's World, or maybe we'll go Shoggy's World tonight, brought to you by Timberhouse Developments, where if you can dream it, they can make it happen. Truly customized building experience. They got you covered. Every house is unique. Every customer is like family. See what you can dream up together. Contact timberhouse.ca. Had a chat with Don Tolsma over at Timberhouse today. They're licking their wounds like a lot of Oiler fans, Zuby. They're feeling the sting of the loss, but busy summer ahead for the great crew over at Timberhouse. I'm going to take Struddy's World, and the topic that today is going to be on Matt Savoy. So what an opportunity that Matthew Savoy is about to get. 21 years old, 9th overall pick, 2022 NHL Draft. I believe Matt Savoy is going to have a chance to come into training camp and get a look immediately, likely on Leon Draisaitl's wing. I don't know if he's going to earn that spot out of camp. I don't know if he's going to do enough to prove to everybody that that's where he should start the regular season. But I believe the Oilers are open to it. I believe he's going to have the opportunity. I don't think we're going to see it be a short opportunity. I don't believe it should be a short opportunity. I think they need to give it a look. I think they need to start him there. They need to keep him there. They need to let him develop some chemistry with Leon Draisaitl and truly take a run at making it work. Not a half-hearted run. Exhibition game here or there, a few shifts, then he's off, then he doesn't play. Stick him next to the guy and see if you can find something that works. It's a good player. It's a high pedigree player that was drafted high. The Oilers showed good patience with him, right? We saw a lack of production on Leon Draisaitl's wing all year long. Part of the reason that the Oilers decided to be patient was so that Matt Savoie could stay in the American Hockey League, hone his craft, play top 6 minutes, learn. As a result, 54 points in 66 games, 19 goals in his first American Hockey League season. I think back to Kyler Yamamoto, reasonably high pick in the first round. Didn't happen for him right away. It took some time. It's not a direct comparable, but a smaller player that once had 20 goals playing on Leon Draisaitl's wing. I believe Savoie has more skill. I believe he's probably a faster player. And I'm not saying that he's got 20-goal potential right away, but I think there's something there. And I think it's incumbent on the Oilers to give him the space he needs to see if he can find it through some exhibition games and maybe even into the regular season. And give that patience that they showed all year this year a chance to pay off by letting him get comfortable. They could really use Zuby, somebody on an entry-level deal or one of their first few NHL deals coming in at a reasonable dollar figure and contributing in the top 6. I don't know which way it's going to go, but they got to give it some time.
Who's been, other than playing with McDavid, I mean, and usually McDavid's center there, who's been Draisaitl's best winger? Who's been, do you think it's Yamamoto? I mean, you mentioned him. Do you think that's the guy who's, because it's even that didn't seem like an extended period of time of him having that guy there, that was never his wingman the way that Hyman has become McDavid's wingman.
No, I mean, there really hasn't been, it was Yamamoto for a while. They tried to force Puljujarvi into that spot. There's not been a truly consistent fit. There's nobody you can point to and say, that's been his running mate. The other side, the winger has come and gone. Now, maybe, and the Oilers have given themselves a few kicks at the can here with who it might be. Matt Savoie is going to come in and he's going to have an opportunity to compete for that spot. It would not surprise me if the Oilers can move both Arvidsson and Kane, if they don't go look for a player that might be able to come in and be in that spot. Between that and a goalie, that might be a couple of the needs you try and fill with that $9 million in cap space. But there hasn't been that guy. So Frederick potentially gets a look there. We know Podkolzin is a fallback position with little offense attached. And I believe Savoie is going to get a look. But my point, Zuby, is you can't bring him in, play him an exhibition game or two against teams that are AHL lineups. And if it doesn't click right away, pull the pin and throw somebody else there. I just think they need to be prepared to give him a long look and give it a chance to stick through whatever ups and downs Matt Savoie might experience in his first camp with a true chance to stick. He has a true chance to stick, and this is the first camp for him with that as an Oiler.
Yeah, there was a couple of, I mean, it was short and there was bad as well, but there were a couple of flashes when we saw it for the games that we saw this year. It looked like there were a couple of moments, hey, maybe these guys might click together. Savoie didn't stick around too long, and I think they lost a few games in that stretch. Things weren't going well overall, which was what shuffled him out. But I felt like there was some flashes of it then, so I hope you're right. I'd love to see it.
All right, that was Struddy's World, brought to you by Timber Hoss Developments. I did Struddy's job. You get to do Brownie's job, Zuby. And listen, I'm not going to try and play Mr. Boss Man here and, remind you who pays the bills and remind you that you hold the keys to brownie points tonight and you have the ability to actually give me some legitimate brownie points if you want to. I'm not going to play that card, but I'm interested. It'll be notable to me which direction you go with your brownie points. Brought to you by Hamel's Premium Jerky. If you're craving bold flavor and unbeatable quality jerky made with prime Alberta beef, it's made and sold right here in Canada. Look no further. Their June special is here, $97.29 for 3 pounds of jerky. And as always, free shipping Alberta-wide. Visit albertajerky.com for more information. Zuby, you are at the helm tonight. Dole them out as you see fit, sir.
All right, well, I've got 3 big, gigantic, monstrous brownie points. The biggest ones, we've got the XL, the Costco size, for the country of Canada. for having Canadian athletes as the reigning playoff MVPs in 3 of the 4 major North American team sports.
That, yeah.
We got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, dream season, my goodness. Regular season MVP, NBA championship, finals MVP. Incredible. Of course, maybe too soon for Oiler fans. We're reminded Sam Bennett, the Conn Smythe Trophy winner, and we got to go get in the Wayback Machine to October and see Mr. Freddie Freeman of the Los Angeles Dodgers being the World Series MVP. So pretty cool. Shout out to those 3 proud Canadians. I got 16 brownie points for Alexander McGillney. For the 16 years he had to wait to be elected into the Hockey Hall of Fame, over 1,000 points and a Stanley Cup to his name. And there's others with comparable stats who are not in, but he was a trailblazer in many ways, still of the era of the guys who had to defect from the Soviet Union in order to play in the NHL. He was also the first Russian NHL captain. Next season on this same show, if Brownie's on vacation, I hope to give 25 brownie points to Andy Moog when his name is finally called to the Hall.
All right.
I'm taking away 108 brownie points from every person out there who believes adding Joel Hofer or Devin Levi is the solution to the Edmonton Oilers goaltending situation next season. It's 108 points because that's the number of regular season games those 2 goalies have played. You know what? I should have added their playoff games. Oh, wait, I did. Neither one of them have played any. It's still 108. These are good goalies with bright futures, but anyone thinking that the answer and goal for this team in this window, in my opinion, is to get younger and less experienced deserves to lose those brownie points. This one's for Blommer. 93 brownie points to the Canucks.
Blonsky.
The Abbotsford Canucks, that is, of course, as they won that franchise's first Calder Cup in 93 years. That franchise dates all the way back to the 1932 Quebec Beavers. First one, Calder Cup MVP, no stranger to Oilers fans, Artur Shilovs may have created a goaltending logjam in the Vancouver franchise. And since Brownie not only left the cupboard unlocked, but left it wide open, Shogger, and this was on the books.
Yes. Bring it.
Before you even mentioned it, I'm giving you and I 1,000 brownie points each for being the only full-time people on this show not to take a vacation before July 2nd. Kind of an important stretch on the NHL calendar. I could have gone even bigger. Shogger. I felt 1,000 was fair. Gets us out nicely in the plus, both of us, for the rest of this season.
I appreciate it, but they're shared. It's not just me, and it's not for something specific for me. So I'm happy, but I don't feel fulfilled by that, Zuby. But you did a hell of a job.
1,000 each, and those are my one and only time doing brownie points.
Yeah, there might be one more this year. We'll see.
Yeah, that's right.
You did a great job, buddy. Maybe we need to review whether or not Rob Brown is required for brownie points next season. Maybe he can think about that while he's on his golf trip with his buds. Brownie points brought to you by our great friends over at Hamel's Premium Jerky. Great job, buddy. Craig Button coming up on the other side. We're going to go round the horn, talk about some other NHL stories. Definitely want Craig's opinion on what's going on with the Oilers too. And ask us anything. Send your questions now. Get them coming in for Craig Button, who's joining us on the other side of the break here on Got Your Back, presented by Play Alberta. I'll take 1,000. I feel good about that.
For over 60 years, Belvedere Golf and Country Club has delivered a high-quality membership experience to Edmonton and area. And now it's even better. Drainage and irrigation improvements in 2024 have taken course conditions to a new level. This commitment to long-term sustainability means exceptional playing conditions all season long. Belvedere's tee sheet availability is unmatched, so join now and experience golf the way it was meant to be played, on your schedule. Visit belvederegcc.com today.
Specializing in heavy-duty commercial truck powertrain repair, performance, tuning, and part sales, Adrenaline Diesel's professional team is ready to assist you with all of your needs, from the simplest oil changes to engine conversions, overhauls, and engine modifications. Featuring an all-new online parts store and machine shop to manufacture, replicate, or repair parts, visit adrenalinediesel.ca.
All right, let's take a lap, shall we? Brought to you by Acon. If you're a skilled tradesperson or construction professional looking for work in Western Canada, they want to hear from you. Send your resume right to them now. Well, after the show. Trades@acon.com is the email address. That's trades@acon.com. One of Canada's original industrial contractors building some of the largest multi-year industrial projects in Western Canada, and you can be part of it. Oh, I love bringing Craig Button on the show. One of my favorite guests, one of my very good friends, and a guy that reached out today because he heard a rumor I might not be okay. Craig, I was touched with your phone call today, buddy. You got word that things weren't okay in my world, and you were checking in.
Well, I mean, we were together for a number of the games versus in the Stanley Cup final, and when I heard that you might have an Achilles issue, I said, "Oh, geez, I didn't notice any hobbling around." And then all of a sudden, I want to make sure you're not on the IR. I mean, it's off season. Off season means that there's work to be done, but it's not the same hectic pace. So I'm glad to hear you're doing okay. And I'm glad to hear that you don't have any serious issues with the Achilles, because I've had friends that have had Achilles tears, and it's no fun.
Yeah, you're like so I'm not going to use the word elder statesman because, I don't want to insult you. But
I take it as a compliment.
This is what you do for us. People don't know this. Craig looks out for everybody on our crew. If ever anything is going on, Craig's one of the ones that reaches out first. If ever anybody needs anything, Craig's usually one of the first calls. That's your role within our group here, Craig. I'm just telling you, you've got everyone's back. That's the theme of the show. And that phone call today is an indication of that. We appreciate it, buddy.
Well, we have a great group of people, and I always sit back and we do lots of work, and obviously the Stanley Cup final just completed. I mean, you're on a long run for the playoffs, but I sit back and I really sit back and admire what everybody brings, what people are able to do, and we can all talk about the same subject, and yet we all offer unique and different perspectives to that same subject. And I think that speaks to not only the different experiences that we all bring, but also that, hey, we know when when the story is the story, sometimes you got to just continue to talk about the story. But I think it speaks so much to the talent and to how fortunate we are. I feel fortunate every day to work with the people I do. I've said this often, Ryan. I came for the hockey. I stayed because of the people.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, buddy. And looking forward to a great week. I mean, we got the draft we're hurtling towards, all kinds of potential trade chatter that you and I are going to go through here. You got free agency on the other side of it. Lots of amazing stuff to talk about. I love this season on the pod before these two huge events on the NHL calendar. So, Craig, we'll talk about the Oilers in a few minutes in our next segment, but I want to dig in on some other stuff going on around the league. Between now and the draft, we expect to see some sort of movement trade-wise, and then free agency always brings a lot on board. But a few hot button areas I want to start with. I want to start in Vancouver. We've got Matt Blom on our pod. He's always on the stream. He's an avid listener. He's part of every show. We try and talk a little Canucks now and then for Blommer. But the future of Elias Pettersson is very much out there. We know the no trade kicks in soon. The production was, the narratives were, the situation was, all season long, Craig. Is somebody out there going to be willing to take a flyer on this player and hoping that things can change enough? Is there going to be a deal to be found?
One of the things I think the Vancouver Canucks are up against is that they really feel strongly that Elias Pettersson is better than what he's shown here. What I would call over the last 100 games. I mean, a full regular season, and he can go back probably to about 25 games of the previous season. And they're probably getting those calls, as you know, but they're probably not getting offers that are anywhere near reflective of what Elias Pettersson has been, and probably what the Vancouver Canucks are hoping he can be. Now, the fly in the ointment, you nailed it. He's got a full no move clause kicking in on July 1st. So if he doesn't return to form, well, now where do you go? So my answer to that is, if you think he can return to form, then work with him. Adam Foote's the new coach. figure out where he's at. And if it's not going to work, I don't think that Elias Pettersson would be averse to hearing, okay, we're going to have to go in a different direction here with you. And you're going to have to work with the player, and you're going to have to work with the agent to affect the change post July 1st. But I think that right now, unless there's something that really is significant, I think the Canucks feel that keeping Elias Pettersson, keeping that mercurial talent is better than any return they can get right now. And if it continues like this, then they're going to have to work with the player and the agent to affect some kind of a change, because I don't think there's any way that if he doesn't turn around and get his game back to a level that's commensurate with the pay. Let's be clear, $11.6 million cap hit. He's going to have to get back to that level. If not, it's not going to be sustainable for the Canucks or for Pettersson in the Vancouver market.
I would be interested, Craig, in what a fresh start, what a running head start would look like for Elias Pettersson. So let's imagine a world, his world where, okay, one of the main barriers obviously was the friction with JT Miller. That's out of the way now. That's moved on. Conditioning. Maybe that's been an issue for him. The team has indicated at times maybe that's the situation. If he can actually put in a really good solid summer and hit a new level on that front, we've seen how much really skilled players that figured that out, how they can even take it to another level. I'll point to Evan Bouchard. Early in his development, he turned that corner fitness-wise, and holy smokes, it's when his game really took off. So what happens if Pettersson has the best summer he's ever had, a fresh start with the friction out of the locker room, and a new opportunity? The Canucks have to be going over that in their head, and that has to be tantalizing because what this player has shown he can do. When you weigh that off against the offers coming their way.
Yeah, well, and I think the offers probably can't be that good.
Exactly.
We look at, and I'm just going to use a real lesser example. Trevor Zegras, who had a lot of talent, and it felt like over the last couple of years they worked with him in Anaheim, and they reached the point where they said, we're moving on. Now, we know that Trevor's got a lot of talent, but they reached the point of no return. And look at the return they got for Trevor Zegras. It's not something that when you look at where he was drafted, what he had showed early on in his career is really anything reasonable. So I think that's where the Vancouver Canucks find themselves. And if you look down the road and you go, okay, if he doesn't get back, we know what we can get probably at a minimum. But you nailed it. Tantalizing skill. It's hard to find that type of ability, that type of difference-making ability. And if he finds that level, and I'll call it a maturity that says, hey, listen, I got to give myself a chance to be the best I can be with conditioning, with fitness and everything like that, well, then the Vancouver Canucks are going to be the beneficiaries of that.
There you go, Blommer. Hope you're happy with that. The Toronto Maple Leafs, I mean, I don't want to go over the same, Marner going, staying, looks like he's going, who's it going to be, where's it going to be? I'm a little bit interested, Craig, in the Maple Leafs backup plan here and what their vision is of how to change the chemistry in a way that you can remove that much skill from your lineup regular season-wise, still be a competitive team for a division, still stay at that high end. What's the backfill going to look like? Is it Carlson? Is it... what's the backfill plan for Mitch Marner if and when he goes, do you think?
Well, I don't know if this is something that is a common refrain. I don't think there is a backfill for Mitch Marner. I think that the Toronto Maple Leafs have run themselves into a corner here where there is not. I don't see any way where they can replace him, number one. I don't see any situation where they're not going to regret it. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs have absolutely botched the Mitch Marner situation. Let me be clear. Absolutely botched it. He's been a first-team All-Star right wing 2 times in his career, a Selke Trophy finalist. You mentioned the 102 points. We're talking about backfilling. You have the guy that you drafted that's been brilliant, and they've made him, they've put the scarlet letter. The Toronto Maple Leafs have put the scarlet letter on Mitch Marner. Who's defended him? Who stood up and said, he's our guy? We got to support, we got to be better around Mitch Marner, not try to find a way to be better without Mitch Marner and backfill. I think that they're going to look back and they're going to go, well, how did we do this? Why did we do this? And I don't see Carlson's not an answer. I mean, we're talking about elite. We just talked about Elias Pettersson. We're talking elite talent here in Mitch Marner. And I think that they put themselves in a spot where there's no return. And when I say no return, there's literally no return. And figuratively, there's no return from a Mitch Marner departure.
It hasn't worked though, man. Like I hear everything you're saying, Craig, and I fundamentally I agree with what you're saying. That makes good hockey logic. But at the end of the day, it hasn't worked. He wasn't willing to waive when they asked him to waive, and it didn't work again in the playoffs. So to pony up the dollar figure required to get him to stay, to run it back with fundamentally a similar group when over and over it hasn't worked, I also understand is beating your head against a brick wall. You know, yes, you can't let a great player like Mitch Marner walk for nothing. It's crushing to your organization. Can you continue to hurtle into the playoffs with the same core group, illustrating they can't get it done over and over and over? What's more catastrophic to the group?
Well, I'm going to go deeper and further in this. I think that core group was failed by Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shannon. First of all, Kyle Dubas felt that he could change the playoff template. The playoff template's not changing. It hasn't changed for 80 years. And I think that the players, we talk about the core four. Well, tell me who was their third line? Their third. I mean, you just watched the Stanley Cup final, okay, and you've watched 8 rounds in the playoffs for the last 2 years, and you need depth. The Toronto Maple Leafs have no depth. They don't have a fourth line. They don't have a third line. So, but it's Marner's fault, I guess, that they don't have a third or a fourth line. You know, before they had small defensemen. I guess that's Marner's fault and Matthews' fault. They've never had a supporting cast around them. Like, Kyle Dubas really thought that, oh, we're going to go small, we're going to go skilled, and we're going to show it. They got obliterated. The third line which was great for Florida, obliterated them. I mean, I keep hearing about the Toronto. They were close. They won the first 2 games of the series against the Florida Panthers, and then in the next 5 games, even the game they won, and they might have had 2 good periods out of the next 15 periods, and that's not including overtime. And I don't think I don't see it's their fault. I really don't.
Okay.
And I know that when we talk about the core, it's easy to do. Oh, we can't run it back. How about they run back a better third line and a better fourth line? Because they don't have enough. Like, so now you're going to take Marner out. They want to see what the abyss looks like. And then what happens when when Matthews comes up in 2 years' time? And it might not even come up to 2 years. Matthews might just say, get me out of here now.
Okay, so then let me ask you this, and we'll move on from the Maple Leafs. So Mark Masters and I had many Leaf debates in our journeys in the Stanley Cup final. Love talking Leafs with Mark. What a wonderful guy, smart guy, knows the team inside out and backwards. Do you think that the lens with which the Maple Leaf failure was viewed through when it happened, right? And it was, the market went nuts, understandably, right? The boys on overdrive, like it was bad, right? But do you think that after watching the Florida Panthers do what they did to Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers, that the lens with which Toronto's failure is viewed needs to be adjusted a little bit? Because that might have been one of the best teams we've seen in a long time in the Florida Panthers, that they took really, really deep and almost got by, Craig. Could the Leafs have potentially made some strides here that aren't recognizable because of when they lost, but they came up against that team?
Yeah, I think you just put it very, very well. That the Florida Panthers are an outstanding team. Not were an outstanding. They were. I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, in my view, I mean, I think they overperform. I think what they do in the course of a season, what they do in the playoffs to drag their team to the point where they get them within 2 wins of a Stanley Cup this year, 1 win of a Stanley Cup last year, speaks volumes about their impact. But I think when you put it the way you did, I think that taking a step back, taking a deep breath and exhaling and saying, wait a second here, you know, the Edmonton Oilers have these 2 great players, and they ran into the same problem we ran into. What are the Oilers talking about, Ryan? You know what they're talking about. We got to build out the depth. We got to build out.
How good Florida was.
Right,
I mean, they're literally sitting there going, that was an unreal team.
Connor McDavid this year, and I loved what he said and he said it on the podium the following Game 6. He said, last year it was heartbreaking. This year, I'm angry. And I think he was angry because you think you're closer coming back in this year, and you're not. And he did. He recognized, I thought he was measured. He understood what the problems were. And I think that would be a really good place for any team to look at. I don't hear the Tampa Bay Lightning talking about moving out their top players, and they lost in 5 games. I don't hear other teams that lost to the Edmonton Oilers going like, well, we better start doing. You start to look about how do we build our team, not how do we remove good players from our team. So I just think they put themselves in a spot where it's tough to turn back. And the market, to me, that's where somebody in the Toronto Maple Leafs organization had to really say, this is our group. It's not running it back. It's about, we're going to get strength behind these guys. Because if they don't have those guys, I don't care how much strength you have behind them. Think about this, Ryan. I want to just say this. Barkov, who's one heck of a player. Look what he did against Austin Matthews and against Connor McDavid. Arguably 2 of the very best centers in the entire world. Look what he did against those 2 guys. I mean, that's what you're up against. So now what are you going to do? Not like say that, okay, we're not going to have Mitch Marner because it's his fault that Barkov's so good. It doesn't make it, somewhere along the line, something doesn't make sense to me with Toronto.
Great stuff. Paulie says, got your back button needs to be a regular on the pod. The segment name, Push My Buttons. We got some other suggestions coming in too. I think Zuby, you had one, did you? What did you say there, Zuby?
Said hot button issues.
Hot button issues. Hey, you know what? Just from a branding standpoint alone, that might be reason enough to do it, Craig. We've got others asking if there's Oiler content coming. Yes, our core adjustments segment. We're going to ask Craig about off-season adjustments for the Oilers. Let's run through. These are quick hitters, Craig. So these are like 15-second answers because a few other things around the league I wanted to get to. Rasmus Andersson, future in Calgary. Looks like... oh, no, not yet, Zuby. Not time for that yet.
Okay.
Rasmus Andersson looks like, potentially moving on here from Calgary. You feel like that's the right move for the Flames to move on?
Craig Conroy has shown that if you fit into their salary structure, you'll get signed. If you don't fit into their salary structure, you're moving on. He's been very clear about that, and the record shows clearly that one of those 2 things is going to happen.
Perfect. That was like 15 seconds exactly. The New York Islanders probably about to get a nice defenseman into their organization. Dobson, restricted free agent. There's some chatter out there that they're exploring the markets. What do you think of the core idea of moving on from Noah Dobson because you've got a good young player coming in?
What's wrong with having 2 really good defensemen? Right?
That was kind of my thought.
I mean, Noah's all of 25 years old. And now, defensemen.
They're worried about the number. They're worried about the number,
right?
The
cap's going up. What's the number? So you're worried about the number. Then you're going to be worried about not having enough skill or talent on your blue line.
Okay, I think I know which way you're going with this next one. Buffalo Sabres, Bowen Byram, JJ Peterka, young RFAs, good young players. All we hear about is these guys are about to get traded, Craig. Are you on board with moving one, moving both, moving neither?
I think the Buffalo Sabres find themselves in a spot. They drafted Peterka. They made a pretty significant trade to get Bowen Byram. It feels like the Buffalo Sabres continue to go in circles. So why not just continue to go in circles? They're going to catch up with their tail one of these days, I think, is their belief.
Dan Grasser says, name the segment Button It Up. That's not bad, too. You definitely just buttoned up about 5 issues in a minute and a half there, Craig. That's great stuff. Rapid fire. Taking a lap with Craig Button. We've got lots more still. So get our questions in for Ask Us Anything because Craig's going to stick around for that. But for right now, let's set our sights back on the Edmonton Oilers and our core adjustment segment brought to you by HSE Core Services. If you're a small to medium-sized business, they have your back when it comes to health and safety compliance, from creating and managing a tailored health and safety program, meeting all legislation and core requirements. They support client operations every step of the way. Visit www.hsecor.com. Zuby, just a heads up for you. We're not going to do our scoreboard tonight, but we are going to get a dollar figure from Craig Button on Evan Bouchard and Connor McDavid's contracts. Not right now, but that's going to be in lieu of our scoreboard tonight, Zuby, so we'll get there in a minute. In the meantime, Craig, let's talk about some other Oiler issues here. Goaltending is the one front and center. We believe the Oilers are going to try and pull off a couple of deals here. Try and see if they can find a deal for Evander Kane. See if they can find a deal for Victor Arvidsson. Frees up roughly $9 million or so on the cap and lets them play around with the goaltending here. I'm on record as saying don't be stunned if they start the season with the same goaltenders that they have right now and if the adjustment isn't made mid-season. My point, Craig, is I think they want to get it right. I don't think they're going to just jump because they feel they have to this offseason.
I think that's prudent. If you've identified an area where you want to improve and you want to strengthen, you can't just do it to say, oh, look, we got a check mark there. You want to do it the right way. You want to make sure that if you're going to make a change in that area of your team, in a significant area of your team, you want to be confident that it's moving forward and improving. And I agree with you. I don't think we focus so much, oh, look at the draft and July 1st. And I know that it's open. One of the things that I think that teams are afforded now with the cap going up, when the cap didn't go up, what I call the COVID CBA was flat. Like you have to get your work done by July 1st. I don't think that's the case right now. And I think that players will kind of break free. Players will become available that we don't even know are available today. And I think you always want to give yourself that opportunity in such an important area of your team to be able to address that in a meaningful way. I'm not saying you can't on July 1st or July 15th, but I'm with you, Ryan. If it doesn't happen then, doesn't mean it can't happen in October or November. There's ample opportunity. This team's a playoff team. This team's shown in back-to-back years they can go deep in the playoffs with the goaltending they have currently. But they don't have to panic with a situation that goes, what happens if we don't make the playoffs? There's other teams that are looking, we got to improve our team to make the playoffs. Oilers aren't there. Sure.
I'm not saying they're not going to. They might have identified a free agent goaltender. They might say Jake Allen is a player that we believe can push Stuart Skinner for the starting job and be in the conversation for the right guy to be in net when it matters. I think it's incumbent on Stan Bowman to at some point give this team the opportunity to get a higher level of goaltending in the playoffs than what they've gotten here in the last couple of years. And honestly, it's the Stanley Cup final because Skinner, a few years in a row has been pretty good. I think they just need to give themselves a chance, Craig, to have a little bit higher level of goaltending. So a change is coming. I just don't think it's a panic.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. And when you think about Stuart Skinner's still very young, and he's shown a real capability. He's got another year on his contract. You got to be really careful about how you address that position, right? And you mentioned Jake Allen. Maybe somebody coming in with Jake Allen's experience and somebody that can play 40 games. Jake Allen can play 40 games. Eases the burden a little bit on Stuart Skinner. Think back to this, Ryan. Andy Moog and Grant Fuhr were the two goaltenders for the Edmonton Oilers back in the 80s. They drafted Grant Fuhr in the first round. But Andy Moog was a stabilizing player in the net. He was mature. He helped a young Grant Fuhr. When Grant Fuhr was trying to find his way, Andy was there. And Andy was significant for a number of Stanley Cups for the Edmonton Oilers. And ultimately, they moved Andy Moog along, but Grant Fuhr was ready to take the reins. I don't think Stuart Skinner's had that in Edmonton to date.
Fair. Remember, this is right around the time in his career where the Oilers would have envisioned him being ready to challenge Jack Campbell for the starting job. That's in his goaltending lifetime and progression. That would have been the map out. 2 or 3 years into Campbell's deal, maybe Skinner starts pushing him and can take it from him. He got it early, and he hasn't been perfect, but I'd be hesitant on chucking that goalie at that age, that stature, that ability to bounce back, that willingness to learn, that cap hit, that attitude. I'd hesitate firing that guy, back-to-back Stanley Cup finals he's helped lead you to. So
I'm with you, Ryan. I'm with you.
Moving on from goaltending, what is the answer on Leon Draisaitl's wing? And the options here, Craig, Trent Frederick is going to get signed. He's shown maybe with some increased minutes, his goals per 60. Did you know of all the free agent players out there, Trent Frederick has the highest goals per 60? Like this guy, given different opportunity and ice time, maybe can chip in. We've seen Podkolzin spinning his wheels trying to find offense there. Why wouldn't Trent Frederic get a look? Matthew Savoy is going to come into camp. I did Struddy's World on him tonight. They have to give him a look. May or may not be the answer. It's okay if he's not. Is it a free agent they need to go spend some of that money on to make sure they've got someone? I thought maybe Nugent Hopkins being bumped down from McDavid's line and giving him to Draisaitl while McDavid has Hyman. All of these are possibilities and options, Craig. What feels prudent to you?
Yeah, I mean, they traded for Matty Savoy. I mean, that was a trade. And, you know, Ryan McLeod moved out. They brought in Matty. They wanted to get a little bit more skill into the lineup, and Matty Savoy offers that. Matty had a good year in Bakersfield, and I think that Matty, you know, with a good summer, comes in and shows it with that speed and the skill that could be something. When you have Leon Draisaitl makes everybody around him better. So it's not like you have to have somebody come in that's going to lift up Leon Draisaitl. What you're going to do by bringing in somebody that's better and being able to take advantage of Leon Draisaitl's immense talents is that it's going to make your team better. It's also going to help Leon Draisaitl do even more, because you think about this year, Ryan, and you're there every game. You know what's going on. Like what he was able to do this year, scoring 50 goals, 100 points. He didn't have a lot of help. He didn't have when I say help, I'm not saying that negatively. I'm saying like he didn't have finishers. He didn't have people that could take advantage of his immense talent. So that they just got to get. I don't think it has to be some big splashy offensive player. I think they tried it with Arvidsson. Obviously, they tried it with Skinner, but they're going to have to find somebody that can get in there. I still think it's a reach for Frederic to play up there. I think it's a reach for Podkolzin to play up there. I believe this, that when I look at the Edmonton Oilers and I see 97, 29, 93, and 18, those are four. I mean, the two guys, okay, let's just put the other two guys on a different planet. And then the next two guys are really good players. Then we can look at Frederic and Podkolzin and those guys and say, okay, they can help down the road. They got to build that next layer. I think they got to really look hard at trying to build out 5 to 7, 5 to 8, and really try to get some players in that area that can play the hard minutes, that can play third line minutes, that can play up with Leon Draisaitl, that gives the opportunity to Chris Knobloch when things aren't going well. He's got to look at his bench and go, I have no choice but to go with 97 and 29 together.
Yeah.
So I think that's where they got to look at it.
Great point. Okay, that was our core adjustments brought to you by HSE Core Services. Fair warning here, Craig. I'm going to put you firmly on the spot for term and dollars on Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. We've talked about it many times on the show, but would love your take, and we'll get that in our Canadian Club button prediction segment. We're going to label that on the fly. The all-new Canadian Club Classic 18-year-old high proof comes in at an incredible 58%. Their highest proof Canadian Club Classic to date. It's a full-bodied whiskey with aromas of caramel, toffee, spicy vanilla, and rich oak with a butterscotch finish. I'm rebranding on the fly. Let's call it Let's Push Some Buttons with Craig Button, brought to you by Canadian Club. All right, start with Connor McDavid here. I said earlier they're threading a needle between recognizing who this player is and his stature in the game, but also staying true to his number one priority, which is wanting to win, Craig. So going for the max is not going to fit that need. I think that needle gets thread. I have a big range here. 15 to 16.5 is kind of where I've been coming in at. What say you on it, buddy?
Well, how about if I start it? And I think that we know that Connor McDavid, whatever if he doesn't go for the max, is he worthy of the max? Yeah, we know he's worthy of the max. I love your term, threading the needle. Connor McDavid, it's a very different situation than Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby took a lot less than his value, but Sidney Crosby's focus was on trying to thread the needle. Now, Connor McDavid, when you use the term threading the needle, it's winning, making sure that he is compensated right. I don't think that any player should leave money on the table. I think it's better for Connor McDavid, in my view, to consider a shorter term contract, to thread the needle in the short term. Like, you don't have to go 15 to 16.5 on a long-term contract. I think and I'm just gonna, because it's easy math for me. So I'm just gonna go 16 million for 4 years. That's $64 million. That threads the needle to a certain to a certain degree. And now Connor McDavid, he can watch and see what the Edmonton Oilers are doing. I don't have any. I see Connor McDavid, captain. He's lived his entire adult life in Edmonton. I see him as an Oiler through and through. But you want some help, and I think Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl have earned the right to say, get us some help, get us to a place where we can not get close, where we can get over the hump. So if I go 16 million times 4, that's 64 million, and now, oh yeah, Connor McDavid is 32 years old.
32.
And now
Cap's
what can he come back with?
120.
Right? Well, and now that's what I mean about not leaving money on the table. So now can he come back and say, okay, here's another 4 or 5 year deal at 21 million. And so now you got 105 million if I just use the math at 21 million on a 5-year deal plus the $64 million. And that's if the Edmonton Oilers have to thread the needle here too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just when I say thread the needle, they're going to have to show Connor McDavid, listen, here's what we're doing to help you. We're getting players that are going to come in and be instrumental in getting us over that hump. Because Connor didn't talk about winning once. He said, I want to have a chance to win again and again.
And then it won't be a problem signing. And then it won't be a problem signing is what he said.
Bingo. Yeah.
We'll be a little quicker here on Evan Bouchard, Craig. Did he prove to you that he's worth the long-term 8-year investment if he's willing to sign it at a deal that'll be probably 10 to 11 million? Did he prove that to you? Because lots of people were feeling very trepidatious about it through the regular season.
I had him on the Hockey Canada 4 Nations. I had him on the Olympic team. I think he should have been there. There's nothing that's going to get me to back down on Evan Bouchard. I'll be real quick here. In 1990, I was with the Minnesota North Stars. We traded Larry Murphy.
I knew you were bringing up Larry Murphy. I knew it. I love it.
The Pittsburgh Penguins. And we ended up getting to the Stanley Cup final, not by, that was a stroke of luck and magic that we got there. We lost to Pittsburgh with Larry Murphy. And Ryan, this is hilarious. It wasn't 3 or 4 weeks after we traded Larry Murphy. We had a conference call looking for a player that could play like Larry Murphy. And you know how long it took us? It took us till 1996 when we traded for Sergei Zubov. So when I watch Evan Bouchard, there's no perfect players in the game, and there's never going to be. You can easily look at Evan Bouchard and say, oh, he doesn't do this. Evan Bouchard is a game changer. Evan Bouchard is a guy I want on my team. To me, 10 and a half, 11 million, like, sign it and get it done.
Love it. All right, buddy. That was awesome. That was buttoning it up. Brought to you by Canadian Club. I love this next segment. We're going to have a chance for people here. We're live on YouTube, live on X, live on Twitch. I think we might even be live over on Facebook. Love doing a live show, Craig, because then people can actually deal with you directly. So Zuby, hop on in here. Let's get to Ask Us Anything, brought to you by Mortgages by Maria, the Bank of Canada. Continuing to roll those rates back, so the spring real estate market is heating up. Maria Gallus with Maximal Mortgages offers access to several lenders and a wide range of options, more than what your bank can provide. So don't just settle for your bank's offer. Give Maria a call today. mortgagesbymaria.ca. All right, Zuby, I'll give you a second to fix my my picture there. You got the 3-shot with the big gray box before I put you on the spot and tell you to start asking Craig some questions. There you go. Zuby runs this segment, Craig, and Zuby, you can fire these away at Craig. I'll be back in 40 seconds. I'm dying. I'm going to grab some water, but Craig, have at it with our listeners.
Okay, Craig, this is from James Barrels. He says, Rishaug needs to ask. I'll do it instead. Wants to ask you, what has impeded Vasily Podkolzin from what Craig saw in him in his draft year? He had some solid praise for that for him in that draft. What do you think impeded Podkolzin prior? Still more room for him to grow?
Yeah, I think there's room for him to grow in a particular area of the game. What I saw in Vasily in his draft year was a great competitor. He wanted to be a difference maker. I don't think that's changed at all in his NHL career, and I think he showed that with the Edmonton Oilers. I think what's where he's fallen short, I thought he had better offense. I thought he had better finishing hands. I thought he had more ability to score goals. He gets opportunities, but he just doesn't have the finishing hands. He doesn't have the finishing skills. I was projecting that would be better. I thought that Vasily could have been a 25 goal scorer. I think what you see with Vasily, if he gets into that 12, 15 goal range, that's really good. But you're going to have Vasily now for what he is. I'll give a quick example. Sam Bennett, the Conn Smythe Trophy winner, was drafted 4th overall. And the Calgary Flames dispatched him because he wasn't reaching his offensive abilities. They thought there would be more offense there. And the Calgary Flames wished they didn't do that. They wished that they looked at what Sam Bennett was instead of what he didn't reach. Teams have to be really careful that when they evaluate players, they don't over-project the players. And when they see what a player is, don't diminish his other areas of the game. And I think Podkolzin has some good things. I just don't think he's going to be able to be. I thought he'd have more offense to him, and I don't think he has that.
Zuby, how many do you have to do you think? How many questions do you have to do?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you want to do for time. 3 or 4 more.
Okay, good. So however many you got, Craig, if
I'm good.
I'm good to like 20, 25, 30 seconds or whatever, and we'll be able to plow through a bunch because we love having you on and we want to get as many in as we can. I'll blow the whistle if you're getting too long, Craig. Button it up.
Okay, here's some fun stuff, Craig, because we don't get to have you on all the time. So you can weigh in on some of these questions that we hear over and over again. I'm going to give you 2. They're related to Stu Skinner, and you can kind of take it in any direction you want. Car Ramrod said he's hoping Stu Skinner can get lean before camp. Feels like that's the least he can do to prep. And if I can follow that up, Penner's Pancake says, does maybe a goalie coaching change help Stu Skinner? These are a couple things that kind of come up about Stu quite a bit. You might know a little bit more about the inner workings. The goalie coach thing comes up all the time. Does a goalie coach change an improvement in his fitness? Do you have any issues with Stu Skinner's fitness? Or do you think the goalie coach can make a difference as well?
Stewart's a big guy, so I think that it's easy to say maybe he should be fit. I don't see a player that looks like he's out of shape or tired in the net. So
he's in shape.
That's just that. Yeah, there you go, Ryan, and that's my observation. Can a different goalie coach have a positive effect? Yeah, no question about it. I know that in Dallas, Rick St. Croix came into our team to be our goaltender coach. He took over for David Pryor, who was great. David Pryor was a great goaltending coach, but Ricky was the right guy for Eddie Belfour. He was the right guy for Eddie Belfour, and Eddie was fiery and everything, but Rick had a nice, calm demeanor about him, and I think that really helps. So yes, if you think that a different voice, a different approach with Stuart Skinner, you have to put that on the table as something to consider with respect to the goaltending coach.
Mike Tyson coming in here with a big idea. He says, is it possible that Draisaitl is not a center? He's better as a winger, and that's who the Oilers should be targeting instead of always looking for that winger for Draisaitl. Should they be looking for a center? Is that too big of a shift, Craig?
Wow, I mean, listen, I think he's shown that he's a great center and he's a great winger. I think we're right. If you can find somebody that can be nearly as good as Leon Draisaitl as a center, and you're not going to find anybody better. You just can't. Well, there is 97 could be that guy, but I understand. But Leon does play left wing, and I think that gives the Edmonton Oilers options. But finding a winger for Leon Draisaitl also, or it gives you options for Leon Draisaitl to push the team further. I've said this many times. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl overperformed for this team. There's people that say, "Oh, look at them, they didn't get it done. Give me a break. They got it done. They got it done in a big way." And to me, Leon, he leans on people. He's big. He's strong. Wyatt Johnson did this much in the Edmonton series versus Dallas. The Dallas Edmonton series. And you know why? Because Peter DeBoer never got Wyatt Johnson away from Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl just overwhelmed him and buried him. That's a hard guy to play against.
2 things on that quick from me. If Leon Draisaitl keeps pushing his game the way he did this year defensively, he's a Selke Trophy candidate. You don't take a Selke Trophy candidate and throw him on the wing. You don't play the same way defensively from the wing. And number two, centers are more expensive and more difficult to get. Why force yourself into trying to go find a center when wingers grow on trees compared to trying to find quality centers? So no, absolutely not. He should not be a full-time winger.
Great point.
Lego Dynasty with some draft stuff for you here. He says, I would love the Oilers to try and get a second-round pick to add one of Mason West or Simon Wong, I think is how you would pronounce that. Do you think those players would be fits in Edmonton as boom-bust picks?
Yeah, we're talking about 18-year-old players. So, I'm not going to sit down and say that an 18-year-old player with some ability is going to be a bust. I know that at different times, I know what the numbers tell you. I know the numbers tell you that only 45 players approximately will play 350 games or more in the NHL, and that at least 8 players approximately in the first round will not have any career in the NHL of significance. So I'm not going to sit here. These are all good players at the thing. Mason West is a hell of an athlete. Mason West is a really intriguing player. I think he fits into that second round. And Simon Wong is somebody that's emerging. He's young. He's raw. He's like he's just a pony right now. And he's got all these abilities, and you got to allow those abilities to be nurtured, to be developed. So I think either one of those players. I mean, Simon Wong is 6'5" and he skates well, and Mason West is 6'5" and he's got skill. I think either one of those picks would be nice picks for the Edmonton Oilers in the second round if they could get into that spot.
Okay, last one here, and then kind of a fun one to wrap it up. Penner's Pancakes also wants to know. Do you think there's any chance the Oilers can pry Alex Tuch from Buffalo for Leon's right wing? There's a lot of names being kind of buoyed around in Buffalo, although I haven't heard that. I heard that at the deadline. I haven't been hearing it so much. Now, what would you like of the fit there, Craig?
I've been beating the drum for Alex Tuch for a lot of time. And I think Alex Tuch, he can skate. He's competitive. He's big. I think he'd be an ideal fit for the Edmonton Oilers on the right wing with Leon Draisaitl, and because he's going to open up space. And we talked about Leon Draisaitl, what he's able to do to make other players better. I think Leon Draisaitl's impact would be magnified with an Alex Tuch. I love Alex Tuch. And again, I'm going to go back to the Buffalo Sabres. They're looking to make changes. I'm phoning them every day to try to find good players. They got good players there. I'm phoning them every day to try to find a way to get a good player on my team or two.
1 year left at $4.75 million. 5-team no trade list. 1 year left. 29 years of age. Shoots right.
So I got a question for you, Ryan, and for you, Zuby, and for the watchers and listeners. Like, is there any player right now? Like we hear about no move clauses and no trade clauses that wouldn't waive their no move or no trade clause with 1 year left on their contract going into potential free agency to play in Edmonton with Draisaitl or McDavid? Please raise your hand, any of you dumb players that would say no to that.
Great point.
Not from Buffalo, I don't think. Okay, last one. Are you a Seinfeld fan, Craig?
Oh, huge.
Are you a known? Okay, then I wanted to make sure that I double check that first, because JL, as soon as he saw you even going to be on the show, JL chimed in and said, "What's Craig's favorite Seinfeld episode?" Can you name one?
Oh, I can name lots of them. I mean, the obvious answer, because it was so funny, was the contest. And my favorite thing about the contest, it was all funny and everything.
Kramer.
But it was when when they wanted to go tell the lady that she should close her blinds, and Kramer went through this whole, why would you do that? This is beautiful.
Kramer saying, like, I'm out.
Yeah.
That was an all-timer.
That was the end. He'd come in and peer in, and then he'd disappear, and then he was out. But that whole thing, why would you do that? This is beautiful scenery and everything. I I quote Seinfeld all the time because I think that if they could find a way to get social media back into Seinfeld, I don't think it's changed anything. I really don't. And everyday life that was going on, it was funny. And we have those Seinfeld moments. I still have them every day in my life.
Oh yeah. We got some good.
I gotta tell you a funny story.
Oh, yeah.
My youngest daughter loves Seinfeld, so we'd watch Seinfeld. And my oldest daughter, she's a chemical engineer, so that I'm giving you away a little bit of like engineering brain. So one day we're sitting around at the kitchen table, and we're talking about Seinfeld, my youngest daughter and me. And my older daughter goes, "I don't get it. It's about nothing." And my youngest daughter and I, and we just burst out laughing, and we're just killing ourselves. And I don't think my older daughter still to this day has any idea what she said.
So Blommer came in with the marine biologist. Statue Boss Production said the switch. That's an excellent one as well. The hot tub. And the Hamptons and all. There's one that I like, I have to say. Yeah. It's a little bit, gets more into the absurdist a little bit in season 8, but the English Patient, just makes me, I just laugh because the Mandelbaums are in it. There's lots of good, and the cigar rollers and the Magic Pan restaurant. That one always kills me. I'm a big fan, and Strutty is as well. Of course, if it were the three of us, we'd run this segment another 10 minutes talking about this.
Oh my God, you three dummies. And your love for the absurd. It knows no bounds, Craig.
Yeah.
It knows no bounds on this show. Great segment. That was Ask Us Anything. Asking Button Anything, brought to you by Mortgages by Maria. We wrap the show with our play of the day every day, Craig, brought to you by Gallery Dental. Take the first step towards a stress-free dental experience, providing modern dentistry for today's patient with the most up-to-date dentistry, sedation, implants, and so much more. Contact GalleryDentalYEG.com. Zuby, I don't know if you had anything in mind for this. I get chirped a ton on this show, and it's not very often that I will full-on belly laugh at a chirp. Gregor made me belly laugh tonight. And it might have to be the play of the day. So I'm talking about my Achilles tendon and my heel that you so lovingly called to check on, right? Some people lovingly called to check on you. Other people just can't help but chirp. So I'm explaining it to Gregor, and he goes, "Why don't you get a boot?" And I said, "I don't want a boot." And they said I don't need one. And Gregor goes, "Yeah, well, they don't know you." It was a pretty damn good line. So I don't know, Zuby, you got anything better than that, buddy?
Well, maybe we had the Thornton clip, but I think just maybe shout out to all of the Hall of Fame class.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty pretty
do you
cool.
want to run it? Like Craig, Joe Thornton finding out he got into the Hall of Fame today. We didn't do any Hall of Fame content today. Go ahead and roll it, Zuby. What a moment for Joe Thornton.
Hey, Joe, I just wanted to let you know that we're really excited to welcome you into the Hockey Hall of Fame. You were voted today by
Ronnie, holy doodle.
It's always great to have another Super Greyhound in there.
Oh my God, I'm shaking. Thanks, boys. Holy moly.
Well, I can't believe you didn't answer the phone the first time. And
well,
thank goodness
for right now. I'm flying back home. I'm flying back home today, so that's what I was probably doing.
Well, that's perfect. And thank goodness for Kelly. She said, "We're going to try one more time."
Oh my! Well, thanks for trying, fellas. Oh my goodness.
Well, we could not be happier for you or for the Hockey Hall of Fame to have you as our newest member.
Oh, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. What a tremendous honor.
There you go. Chara, Thornton, Keith, McGillney, Botterill, Decker, Parker, Savageau. Craig, you got a headline thought on the Hall of Fame class?
Yeah, it's three first-time inductees. Somebody a long time waiting was Alex McGillney and Jennifer Botterill. I mean, Jennifer Botterill has waited a number of years. Just a great induction class. Did you hear the Ron Francis conversation with McGillney?
No, I missed that one today.
Oh, well, that was really good too. So Ronnie played with Alex McGillney in Toronto at the end of the career. So they Ronnie phones Alex. He goes, "Alex, it's Ron Francis. I don't know if you remember, but when we played together in Toronto, I gave you a nice bottle of wine." And Alex goes, yeah, I remember that. He goes, well, if you still have it, you might want to open it. And Alex says, it's 3 a.m. where I am. And then Ron told him he'd been inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame. So it was a pretty funny moment. It's 3 a.m. I'm not going to drink it. I asked Ron Francis, who's a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame, how special it is to make those phone calls and to hear the response from people. Daniel Savageau said she was speechless. And I think it's really special when you see the individual. It's such a great team sport, hockey is, and we all know that. The players work together so well, and the Hall of Fame is something that recognizes individual accomplishments and excellence, and yet the players have never forgotten that they would be nowhere without their teammates, and I think that's what really makes it special.
Well, Craig, you are in our Got Your Back Hall of Fame. That's the good news. The bad news is the bar is stunningly low. It is not a high bar to clear, and you have cleared it by a mile. With Struds and Brownie out of town, you came up big for us, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, Ryan. It really is. I mean, time just goes. We just talk, right?
Oh, man, I could sit here and talk hockey all night.
When you showed up in Florida for your playing, when you said you were struggling a little bit, did you come up to the counter with a big limp and get a wheelchair so you could get wheeled through security and onto the plane first?
No.
Because that would have been a Hall of Fame move.
Oh my, that would have been all over Twitter. I would have never heard the end of it. I probably would have qualified. It was that bad on my way home from Game 6, but nonetheless, I will be fine. It's not gout. I'll be back on the golf course soon. Craig, thanks, buddy. I know you're doing stuff with SportsCenter. You're on SportsCenter with Jay Onright. You're out in Toronto right now, so we can see all your content on tsn.ca. SportsCenter with Jay Onright. Look forward to all that, buddy.
Thanks.
Okay, that is the great Craig Button joining us here on Got Your Back. I got to give a quick shout out to DeBoers, by the way, Zuby. People might have noticed a little new swag here. New swag alert. I'll try and get a little closer. This is a 3/4 zip, golf zip. And you can see here, it's got the Got Your Back branding inside here on the zipper. And then a little Got Your Back logo there. This is level wear. And a little hint for you. There's a little bit of this stuff available for sale at DeBoers. They don't have a ton, but they have some. So if you want to check out some of the Got Your Back gear, go to DeBoers. Thanks,
are there any hats there? Because Sherry Frazee was saying on the... Okay, so they have hats. Sherry's going to be in town for a brief amount of time. She wanted to know where to go to get some merch.
DeBoers has some stuff right now. Did we lose Craig or did he just shut her down?
He waved. I think he's
all right. Awesome. He was great, eh?
Yeah.
You know, this might be the longest show we've ever done, Zuby, between Craig Button and JasonGregor. They could talk a pit bull off a meat wagon. I am not surprised we're 110 minutes.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I won't say any more just based on that alone. But they were both great tonight. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and thanks to all of you for joining us. What a great number on an off night, right? Season's over. Lots to talk about, but not a ton going on, and our incredibly loyal listeners keep coming back. We appreciate all of you. Much appreciated. Not sure when we're going to drop our next one. We got some organizing to do, but keep your eye on our socials. Reminder, no Struddy's World tomorrow. We'll try and drop one more to end the season off when the big guy gets back into town. But we'll be talking in the days to come with the draft and free agency ahead. Zuby, amazing job tonight. Thank you.
My pleasure, man. This was fun. It was a different one, but lots of fun. The guys we had on were great.
We don't need those clowns. Have a good night, everybody. See ya.